Hey y'all! So today I am going to be repainting this Savannah sunset that I painted in 2015. This was my first ever acrylic painting that I attempted, and as you can see, it's quite interesting. I obviously did not do any blending for the sunset, and yeah, so after 7 years of painting experience, I am going to recreate this piece and see how it turns out. For this painting, I'll be working on an 8x10 canvas panel, which is the original size that I used for the original painting. And I've gone ahead and coated the canvas with a mixture of titanium white and raw sienna to tone the canvas down so that way I can see all the values that I will be placing on top. My palette is going to consist of titanium white, cadmium yellow deep, magenta, ultramarine blue, and Mars black. I'm going to start out by mixing an orange color for the lighter clouds, and I'm going to mix together some of the deep yellow cadmium, just a touch of magenta. I think we can go a little lighter. I think that's a good start. So I'm gonna go ahead, start blocking in the clouds, just in general areas. Just keeping in mind how the light works. Alright, I think that's where I want the lightest clouds to be in the highlights. Let's see, let's drag this over here a bit more. Drag this out a bit more. Okay. So right now we're just blocking in. We're not going to be worrying about trying to get everything perfect all in one go. I want one more cloud to go right up here. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take just a little bit more of this, take this orange over here, mix in a bit more of the magenta, and we're just going to tone it down just a little bit with ultramarine blue. Let's add just a touch of yellow to it. Yeah. There we go. We're going to start blocking in more of the mid-tones, not the darkest parts. Don't be afraid if you accidentally cover some areas up. You can always go back in and paint those back. I'm going to bring this down just a bit more because our sun is going to go right here. Or maybe over here. Don't want it too centered. Alright. Now we're going to move on to our darkest portions. Which, of course, let's take a bit more magenta, more ultramarine blue. I was originally thinking about adding a bit of Mars black, but I think this dark purple might be it. Let's see. I think we could actually mix in a bit of that Mars black. Just a little bit though, not too crazy. I think that's a little too dark. Let's bring more magenta into that. There we go, I think that's it. Yeah, there we go. This will be, until we start working on the silhouettes, this will be the darkest value in the sky. All right, I'm going to let this dry, then we'll come back, but I will speed it up until we get it all blended out. Something that I want to quickly acknowledge before I start the time lapse is that the colors that I will be doing for the second layer, I will be mixing a little bit of white into it because I decided that I want the colors to be just tinted a little bit. So when it comes to the sun, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little thing of washi tape and I'm going to press it onto the canvas where I want the sun to go. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mixture of white with this little bit of yellow and magenta. I don't want it to be pure white, so I think that's about right. Now I'm going to find where I want the sun to be. I think that's where I want it. And I'm just going to paint along the edge. Okay. I'll tidy that up in just a minute. While I wait for the sun to dry, I'm going to go ahead and block in the ground silhouette. And I'm not going to use just pure black. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mix black with the ultramarine, a lot of ultramarine. There we go. And also let's get some magenta in there. So obviously it is still very dark, but with the hints of blue and magenta in there, it just helps add more depth, in my opinion, to the black. So now that the sun is dry, I want to go back and you can see that there are some clouds right there that have been covered by the sun. And to make this realistic, I need to go back in and add those clouds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this mixture of white, cadmium yellow deep, and magenta, and I am just going to give the impression that these clouds are passing over the sun and that they're very thin clouds. And the light is just shining through them. I think that looks good. Now what I need to do is I need to add in the silhouette of the tree. And we're going to go in with our mixture of black, ultramarine blue, and magenta. And we're just going to start blocking it in. I think I want it to start right about here. And now let's start adding in the foliage of the tree. Now it's time to paint the two silhouettes of the giraffes. I've gone ahead and I've drawn them out on a separate piece of paper and I transferred them onto the canvas using chalk pastel. I'm not going to paint the silhouette of the elephant because I don't think it will fit compositionally. Once the silhouettes are dry, if you see that there's still little outlines of chalk pastel, you can take a small little mop brush like this and just lightly wipe it away. Just make sure that your silhouettes are all dry so the paint doesn't smudge. Alright, and last but not least, all we gotta do is paint in the silhouette of the birds and sign it, and we'll be done. So here are the two paintings side by side. As you can see, quite a lot has changed in 7 years. What I find really interesting is how both of these pieces only use 5 colors. But besides that, you can see that my blending has obviously improved, my use of color has improved, because on this one I was using color straight out of the tube, while in this one I was actually mixing colors together, and there was actually no pure color straight out of the tube on this one. And I think another thing too, in this one I think my use of perspective and depth is better than this one, because I kind of feel like with this one, besides the colors just being extremely flat, it looks just stamped on, while with this one everything looks cohesive and actually part of the same scene. But yeah, this is my first ever YouTube video, and it was of a painting from 2015 versus painting from 2023. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope that y'all will continue to follow along on where my art journey takes me. Have a good one and stay creative.